lovely day. And we like to say, we hope it's here to stay.
Oh my god. Dipping sauce. Okay. Good morning, everybody. And welcome to the... Oh, hold up. Welcome to the Spencer and Ali show featuring Rob. Welcome to the Spencer show with also Robin featuring Ali, but usually Chris.
That's better. I thought the original one was Spencer and Robin show featuring Ali.
Right.
Minus Ali.
Minus Ali.
Minus Ali. Yeah, so today we got Chris back on the show. And we'll try to do a short episode for you guys this week because I feel like...
Because I got up at 11:39.
Yeah, and also
What's with that?
we got places to be.
I don't know. I was up till 3 o'clock and I forgot to set an alarm.
I was up till 3 and I still got up at 10:30.
You're usually up till 3. I'm usually up till 12.
You're right, I am.
Yeah, so we were up till 3 last night having intercourse.
No.
With our mouths.
No, we were
I'd be
watching
talking
Spencer.
by that.
You're watching.
Yeah, we had a conversational intercourse.
Yeah. I was playing Dark Souls.
Discourse, as some say.
Yeah.
And yeah, Spencer's playing Dark Souls. Me and Chris were just watching. Or actually, no, we were talking to Spencer's friends from home
Mm-hmm.
through him.
Through him. You wouldn't take out his headphones and let us hear what they were saying.
That's because I had to listen to the game.
But nonetheless, we're here now.
Yeah.
And I guess announcements. We have WPHU stickers.
Stickers are out, people.
If you want a sticker, I'm not sure what you should
Ask.
do, but I have them in the booth here. So if you know someone, or if you want one,
Are we doing shipping?
you can get one. No, I'm not shipping.
Sorry.
You have to live here.
You have to live here.
Yeah. There's some square ones and some long ones. And if you and you've seen the logo because you're looking at it right now on the YouTube thumbnail. So
If you order enough, we will ship them.
yeah, if you want that many, we'll ship them. So I don't know what the amount is, like 50 or more. We'll ship. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
pay for shipping.
That's crazy.
And also on March. Okay, so they haven't actually told us yet, but it's either going to be March 4th or March 11th. Sorry, not March.
March.
This is March.
April.
No. April 4th or April 11th
Yeah.
will be the SGA Gallery walkthrough event. It's like a art show where student work is being displayed. There's photography, there's visual art. There's like fashion stuff and like a whole range of extracurricular artwork that's done by students. So come check it out, and there will also be live music provided by a couple people, including Zaki and myself. So please come. Please come.
Support the artists.
Yeah.
All of them.
Precisely. And that's all I have for announcements. Oh, and we also have a new show coming out soon. It's Jemiah's show. I don't remember what it's called, but it will be out soon.
Yeah.
And that should be dropping probably within the next week or two. So, first episode.
Awesome.
Keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right.
So let's
Let's.
hold up. Let's get started.
Nice. Shoehorn that
So-
in.
so
Good segue.
If you listened to last week's episode, we did a really great, and you should go back and listen to it because it's hilarious. There's a really good Mac DeMarco, Moonlight on the River ad lib
Yeah.
using this effect, and it's really good.
It's pretty good. I like your parts better than mine.
Yeah, you just go back and you just, it's the first thing you hear, and it's like the first minute or 2 or 3 minutes of the episode.
It's pretty long.
Is it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like 5
6
minutes.
Okay, well, it's however long the song is.
It's good, though.
Yeah.
It's worth the listen.
It's definitely worth the listen.
Which, yeah. Let's see. What should we begin? How should we begin?
How should we begin?
Well, Chris and I watched Akira the other day,
Yeah.
Well, Chris has already seen it, and you've already seen
Yeah.
it.
What did you
It
think?
was the first time for me. I had a great time with it.
Yeah.
I'm not an anime person, and it's not because I don't like anime, just because I never, I don't know, I never really watched it or got into it. My impressions of anime in general are like the really like surface level, dramatic ones where they do all those weird things with like the little things that pop up on their foreheads when they're aggravated and stuff like that. Which I understand is not like doesn't really cover.
It's a very specific genre.
It's like fairy tale.
Yeah.
Like that kind of like basic
yeah, like I guess
anime for Americans.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I had a friend whose house I'd sleep over every once in a while, and he would make me watch Orion High School Host Club, which was awful. I hated it.
yeah, that's a very
No offense to
specific
anyone who
genre.
likes that.
That's I forget what that's called, but
It wasn't for
basically
me.
it's like slice of life stuff and romantic
Yeah.
comedy.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Yeah.
And then my other experience with anime is like Miyazaki, which is everybody loves a good
Right.
My Neighbor Totoro or whatever, or Ponyo. I liked Ponyo.
Ponyo,
is so
I have yet to watch it, but it looks interesting. I'm not gonna knock it until I try it.
That same friend, they used to get me the weirdest birthday presents, like the most obscure, like weird birthday presents. And one time, and I was like young, so this
Mhm.
was kind of weird. Like they gave me a DVD of that one Studio Ghibli movie with the raccoons.
Pompoko?
No.
Pompo.
Yeah, that one.
Pompoko. That one's so
It
Why?
was
so long.
It's so long.
and it's like half of it's boring.
Yeah.
But they also have nut sacks the whole time.
They also have nut sacks.
that they use for things.
And I
So
found
it's
out
like
That's
that
pretty
they're not
sweet.
actually raccoons. They're like this
No,
other animal.
they're
that's a
tanukis.
relative.
yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And it's actually supposed to be a documentary.
It's in that style sort of, and there's a lot of themes of like industrialization and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so Akira was pretty interesting because I think the art style was less about like making cute characters or whatever, and there was there was a ton of like really advanced animation techniques that blew my mind.
And I think that came out in 1989,
88 or
or
something like
88.
that,
Yeah, that's
And-
pretty mind-boggling.
Like they just did some crazy lighting effect, and you know this is
It's all
obviously drawn, so it's
Hand
like they
cells.
have to think of this stuff. I mean, I'm sure they use photo reference, but like, you know, some of the things like the guy was looking through the tank visor from one of the tank guys,
Mm-hmm.
and like when he pulled his face away from it, there's like the bright spot on his face where the light's coming through the
Mhm.
the
tank
viewfinder or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's just like little stuff like that. Like there's one shot of a guy in the distance, and there's like the heat lines coming up from the ground, and the ground is like shiny, the way it would be if you were looking at someone at a distance when it's hot out.
Yeah, the
And there's
details
just some
impeccable.
Really
really
incredible.
crazy stuff like that.
Another thing as well is I think that the subject matter is so. Oh, am I not close enough?
I think.
Oh, okay. The subject matter is really something that is shied away from.
Yeah.
So I think having a film that does it well is rare. So I appreciate that as well because I love me some dark subject matter.
Yeah, especially I always like a cartoon that's mature, as it were.
Mhm.
I like gore in cartoons.
There's actually a
because-
Japanese category for that. It's called seinen, which is adult animation. Like
Mm.
Berserk is considered a seinen. So it's like stuff that you wouldn't have teenagers watching, basically. Even though teenagers are watching, it doesn't really matter.
Well, the only thing I didn't really like about the film was when he put on the cape.
Oh, and then it got a little like Dragon Ball Z-ish.
Yeah.
See, I didn't like that at first, but I started to like it later, and I guess minor spoilers if you haven't seen it, but I won't go too into it. But I actually thought that was really good because it's just showing how like this guy who's been like the little guy his whole life, and he's suddenly getting this massive ego trip,
Yeah.
and it's like I'm God now.
Well,
And he
the-
puts the cape on, and you can still tell it's like a bed sheet, like the entire time, and so it's like this crazy dude is just like playing God. And
Well,
I actually thought that was kind
I think if you analyze it a little closer too, the reason why he puts on the cape is you have to realize the kids in this movie are young.
Yeah.
You know, they're
Like high
really
school.
young. And basically, you know, he was a pretty childish guy. He was becoming his own superhero. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was in charge of himself, and like Robin said, it was like a manic trip for him.
Yeah.
So, you know, he's like, let's say he likes Superman. He's like, I'm Superman. Like, that's why he put on the cape. It's kind of like a childish. It shows his characteristics of a child, basically, and how he views himself. It's more of like a identity thing.
Yeah.
That appears.
Yeah.
And I also did like that. None of the characters are really good guys. Like I mean, like one of the characters is supposed to be like the clear protagonist. But
Kaneda.
yeah, but
Yeah.
He's not that nice of a guy.
Well,
Yeah,
they're
he's
gang
still-
members.
He's still a
Yeah.
gang member.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's
They're-
still an asshole.
Yeah.
So I do like movies where none of the characters are likable.
I
Yeah.
think it's more
Sometimes.
realistic.
It is, and I mean, I don't know if Kaneda is, you know, he's a product of where he is, kind of thing. I don't know if he's like a bad person per se. Obviously, he does illegal things, but you know, as it's like portrayed in the movie, it's pretty normal. Like that kind of gang activity for young kids. It's just like,
Yeah.
because like, you know, he's getting treated in a hospital or whatever, and it's just a manic mess when he goes to or is it the police station?
Police station.
You know,
Police
like
station, yeah.
this happens. Apparently, this is common. Like, you know, they're kids.
Well, yeah.
Basically.
That's like part of the main theme. Is like
Yeah.
It's in a rough state. Like Japan's in a rough state.
Right.
Yes. Good movie.
Very good.
The plot stuff was like, it is really one of those movies where you see it and you're like, oh, you know, I've seen this before, and then, you know, but it's like this is the reason you've seen this before is because it was here first.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's one of
So
the first.
there's a lot of stuff in there. Like, I got some Stranger Things vibes from the plot, some of the plot elements, and like
Yeah.
some of that. But you know, this is clear inspiration for those properties.
Yeah, that movie has inspired countless movies and video games and books. I like there's a lot of religious overtones in that movie.
Yeah.
Like a ton of religious overtones,
I
like
love that
ideas of, you know, oh my gosh, like the Armageddon, basically, like the end times, the idea of Genesis, like the world being reborn after, spoilers, you know, after like Akira pretty much just goes nuclear and
Yeah.
like resets Japan, basically. And like, you know, like the fake shaman praying to some kind of fake deity or whatever that's supposed to be a cure. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of like religious overtones that I think are done well. I think a lot of movies like shoehorn it in.
I really like that shaman character.
He's pretty
he's
cool.
really cool.
Funny.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the actually one of my favorite characters is the police or the military general. I thought, you know, like for a villain, he was fleshed out enough that he didn't feel like I'm the villain.
Yeah.
It was
And
like
I feel like that was the whole movie. Is there was no villains.
yeah, exactly.
it was sort of like him and Tetsuo were like going back and forth as villain role.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they did experiment on him, like when they found out he had psychic powers. You know, they were like trying to harness it or whatever.
Yeah.
After he got out.
Still not sure I understand completely the whole thing with the energy shapes, you know, with that little splashy thing that the scientist guy kept looking at.
Yeah.
I think he was just looking at his like brain.
Yeah.
power or
Some
something.
kind of representation of his
Well,
power.
he was like the embodiment of, like, he had a psychic connection to Akira, who was in the chamber when that they unearthed,
Right.
and Akira was influencing him basically.
Yeah.
That's why he couldn't control it by the end, because like Akira's was pretty much possessing him, at that point, and he had no control over what he was doing.
Right.
The manga goes in a lot more detail, and I think it's a good bit longer too. I have it, but there's a lot that they had to like try to cut out, and I think that movie kind of benefits from that actually, and kind of doesn't. You know, it's like you get enough from it that you're like, that was good, but maybe if the plot wasn't as good, you know, at least it's not like ruined.
Yeah. For me, the whole thing was just enjoying the art. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, I wanted to mention something.
The technique and all of that.
Well, two things. But the first thing was on YouTube there are these people do these like lo-fi hip hop remixes, but they'll put it over
Anime.
Oh, there you go.
like
Fixture.
specific cells.
Yeah,
like there'll be like artist like this artist, and it's like the cells from this specific anime illustrator that's done a ton of different projects, and it will be all of his or her projects strewn together in a line, or it'd be like action scenes from like 1980s or 1990s anime, and it's just like all these amazing action scenes with incredible animation, and it's basically an animation study with music. And it's so cool because you're like, where is this from? And you like look it up. You're like, oh, I want to see this or whatever.
Oh, soundtrack, by the way, for Akira.
Oh my god,
Really crazy.
Amazing.
one of the best soundtracks
that,
I've
like,
ever heard.
That one for the clown gang, the like breathy thing.
Yeah.
And then the guy's going like, and then it comes back later in the movie, and one of the near the end scenes when Tetsuo's like getting massive.
Yeah.
And that track comes on. That's from the beginning, and you're like, fuck. It's cool.
The use of cultural instruments, like the African instruments, or no, actually I think they're actually Japanese.
But it was still like very 80s too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
80s
there was some 80s shit with the cage snare drum
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it was like synth, but it had like this
Yeah.
almost cultural element to it, which was like really wild.
Mhm.
And Ghost in the Shell kind of did something similar to that with their opening soundtrack from their movie, like this super like airy chorus thing. It's incredible. It still gives me chills thinking about
Now,
it.
is Ghost in the Shell
I've
not
s-
the
I've
live
seen it.
action one? Is that an anime
It was
or
a movie.
or a movie?
It was a movie.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it a movie?
I
I thought
tried.
it was animated.
There's a lot of animes based off of the movie. Like there's Ghost in the Shell standalone complex, which was a series. I watched that. That was amazing. Actually.
But there is an animated Ghost in the Shell
What
movie.
started it was a 1990s animated movie,
Oh,
which took a
sweet.
shit ton of inspiration from Akira.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Mhm.
I'll probably watch that.
Oh,
eventually.
it's
Yeah,
it's
I need to see that.
it's like most of that movie, like the concept is identity. It's
Mhm.
really good. Like the whole thing of Ghost in the Shell is basically like a fight for identity because they're turning people into cyborgs, right? So how much of them is human? Like,
Yeah.
who are they?
I think part of the thing that's stopped me from watching a lot of anime is just the TV show format of it, because I don't really like TV shows that much, and I'm also afraid I'll get sucked into it for a really long
Yeah.
time.
It has that power. If you
Yeah.
it can really do that.
So I'd rather it be in a movie form where I can just watch it and be
done.
Well,
be done.
my thing is, I think most of the really good animes are really short. Like when they're TVCs. Like
Oh yeah.
if you look at like Gurren Lagann, probably one of my favorite animes, it's only 26 episodes.
Trigun and Cowboy
Long.
Bebop are both 26.
Yeah, like most really good animes are 26 episodes. That's kind of like the standard.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like the most condensed you can get like a full story out of. And then you have people that just like blow way past it.
And
And
there's shows like Bleach with 100 episodes per season, and there's 400 seasons.
Yeah.
yeah, Bleach is over. There's a lot of issues with that. Like, because that show pretty much got derailed. I think the author was just like done, and they just kept making him make it. But like, you have authors that have been doing it, like Masashi Kishimoto or Ichiro Oda, who have been doing this since 1998, and like Naruto ended in I think 2016, 2012. I can't remember. It was
Well, Naruto has a shit ton of episodes too, doesn't it?
yeah, Naruto has a ton. My issue with him is he got really like he deviated a shit ton from the original show by the end. Like it wasn't even the same show by
Well,
the end.
When you have
just
that
like,
many episodes,
It's hard
you
not
have
to.
to.
Yeah.
yeah.
You
Well,
know?
The problem was like he wasn't consistent. Like the story just like spoilers, I guess. Like it starts out with like these ninja tribes or whatever, and they're like, they have technology, but they're still like, basically you have to do the hand jutsus or whatever. And there's some special jutsus that don't require that. And then by the end of the series, there's a fucking moon god who comes down, and she's an alien, and she birthed all of the jutsus, and her alien sons are the ones that made it. I'm just like, what the fuck am I even looking at right now?
Yeah, but again, when you have that many episodes,
yeah,
you start to like
you gotta get somewhere.
You start to run out of ideas.
Well, no, I think the issue was he's like building bad guys on top of bad guys. He's like, how
well,
bad?
In order,
you
you have to top your previous thing.
Yeah.
And eventually you get so high up there that, you start getting into some, like
but
where
that's
do you
why
end?
that's why Ichiro Oda's formula has worked so well, because he had his whole idea planned basically from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew who the final bad guy was going to be. He knew like how to gauge everyone's power and like how to progress it throughout the story without it feeling like every character is like, it's getting harder, because as they got harder, they got stronger. So it was like still this like movable gap.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to say. But
I think I do prefer that sort of format over a TV show where there's like a new villain every season and it's the same level of difficulty as the previous one, just a different name and a different shtick. And that's like the TV show Arrow. I could, like, after the third season, I was like, all right. And that was back when I watched TV shows. I don't really watch TV shows anymore, but like, I mean, that show is like there's a new villain every season or whatever.
Yeah.
Same with Dexter. Actually, Dexter, when I was at Queens College, I binged the shit out of Dexter. There's 8 seasons of the show, and then I watched it so much. I watched like almost the entire show up until like the first couple episodes of season 8, and then I just like spontaneously got bored and stopped watching it forever.
That happens.
Like the first like 3 episodes of season 8, I was like, I don't think I could do this again. Because it's just the same. It's like, there's a villain at the beginning. There's some serial killer that's more dangerous than Dexter is. And then there's the whole thing. And then by the end of the season.
Caught.
Yeah. He almost gets caught. Yeah. By the end of the season, they've caught the other guy. And that's it,
Mm-hmm.
I also wanted to talk about I don't know what it's called, but I have an affinity for the cell coloring that they did in the 90s and 80s, where it was like the off color. Like there was like no true, I guess, tones that were like fully saturated. Like everything's desaturated. If you like look at old movies, like if you compare an old anime to a new anime,
right?
The saturation on the old ones is so
because the new ones are digital.
Yeah.
So the colors are so much brighter.
I love the saturation on the old ones. Like there's just something really nice about that vintage, like
feels old,
hand drawn like
looks
quality.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, like I'm watching 2 digital animes and 1 hand drawn anime, and I love the style of like you can see like the it's done well, so the outlines are pretty clean with the pen. But you can tell it was a pen. And like with the digital stuff, while it's like clean as hell and it looks really good from like a art standpoint, it's not the same. Like
I almost feel like
genuine.
it's a bit forgettable.
Yeah,
because it's like it's so perfect that it's basically just they take real life, put it through put it through a filter of an art style, and then it's done.
I can't remember the name of this movie, but it's like Princess
Kaguya.
Maybe that's it.
Is it a Ghibli?
Yeah, and it's just hand drawn, but nothing is fully colored, and it's super beautiful. Like the screen is never fully encompassed in drawing, right? And it's watercolored.
Yeah,
that's pretty sick.
Yeah, I mean, the plot of the movie it's whatever, but it's like just how beautiful the art is throughout the whole thing makes the movie amazing.
I also saw Grave of the Fireflies pretty recently. Didn't think it was that sad.
You know what? I honestly, I didn't think so either.
It's obviously sad.
It's more sad. Of like
it's not
depressing.
like it's more depressing than sad, I think.
Yeah.
But
It's
but
like,
I
damn.
didn't feel like it was really tasteful sad so much as it was like sad for the sake of being sad. Like, fuck you, we're gonna make you like these characters and then we're gonna hurt them. And that's, without spoiling too much, that's like it doesn't feel like a deliberately meticulously crafted this will make you sad. It was more like this would make anyone sad, so we're gonna throw it at you, you know? Like, spoiler alert, they die. And it's like kids dying. Yes,
but
that's
they know that.
Like-
Like you know that from the beginning. It's
And I
not
think
like they're building up to their death.
I think the point is
Yeah.
the story
Yeah.
behind it. It's
yeah,
it's
exactly.
just
And you know
a,
they're gonna die, so it's like
way to like it's a theme to be like, yeah, this was awful. This
Yeah.
whole thing was awful.
Yeah, it's
There's nothing good about what happened.
It's basically meant to be like I guess, not an apologist. That would be the other way around. But it's meant to pretty much show other audiences what Japan went through when in the war, basically. And it what's impressive about that movie is that they don't pull the like Japan was innocent card. They were like, no, like Japan had its issues, especially with pride. Like that's the whole theme, basically. Spoiler alert.
Mm.
Basically, the theme is that
It's pride,
he's
yeah.
too prideful to take the money. He's too
Mhm.
prideful to get his sister help. He's too prideful to go back
Mhm.
home.
Yeah, I picked
And
up
and it's an allegory for Japan.
that. Mhm.
How they were too prideful to quit the war. And then when they quit the war, he goes and he sees the soldier and he's like, I can't, like you traitor, you betrayed the
Yeah.
country or whatever.
When he finds out that they lost.
Yeah, and and on the flip side of that, they show the horrors of the bombings of Japan, and even worse than the nuclear bombings of Japan, which were
Yeah.
bad.
The fire
But you have
bombings.
to understand, the
Fire
nuclear
bombings.
bombings were over like that. It was literally a heat flash and you were dead. With the fire bombings, you have people just burning alive, and
Yeah.
it killed a lot more people than the nuclear bomb did.
Mm. And just, it's like it's a
It's a
slow,
slow, painful death.
The city burns down, basically.
And we knew it
Yeah.
would work because
Yeah.
their buildings were all fucking wood. So we knew it was going to pretty much decimate them. And,
Mhm.
so I mean, it was showing the horrors of war and it was showing the issue of pride, which I think is really powerful, especially coming from a Japanese animator, which
Yeah.
was like, it was probably 1980 something.
Mhm.
And the war ended in 45. So
Yeah. I forget, what's the guy's name? The guy who directed
Uh,
that?
is it Isao Takahata?
Yeah, something like that.
yeah.
It's a T word.
Yeah, Isao Takahata. He passed away.
Mm.
Sadly, that was Hayao Miyazaki's like partner in crime. They came from
Right.
the same studio
Mhm.
and everything. His stuff is good. I don't think he gets enough credit for what he did for that company, for sure.
You do that, yeah.
So that's one.
It's a shame that company's gonna go downhill
With
like
the son,
quickly.
with the guy's son.
I don't know if the son's taking over because I watched a documentary with Hayao Miyazaki in it, and he's like
He's not
I'm
ready.
He's like, I don't think anyone can take over this company once I'm gone.
Damn.
He said no one's like worthy, pretty much.
Damn. That's crazy. Imagine being that, like, good at what you do.
Yeah, it's like
And, I mean, also, like, that, having that much hubris, but, like,
yeah,
also he is really good at what he
right.
does.
He can walk the walk and talk the talk, which
Yeah.
allows him to basically say that. I don't know if he's necessarily. I guess if he wanted things to be exactly like how he wanted them to be, it would have to be like literally him again. So
Yeah.
Sometimes,
like, it's kind of foolish for him to say like the company's gonna go under just because I'm not going to be there because I was the one that like
yeah.
made it. Like companies change. After Disney died, Disney didn't fold.
Yeah.
But I could see this one folding though, because
It's
I've seen
small.
their movies
Yeah, it's
that
small.
aren't done by him, and they're boring.
They
They're
lack
not good.
They lack the vision, the narrative vision he has.
Yeah, they're just clearly. I feel like they're clearly trying to copy him,
Yeah.
and it's clear that they're trying to copy him, and they're not doing a good job.
Yeah. I think that it's possible it could succeed, but I think they need the right person. But you have to take whatever he says with a grain of salt because he's a grumpy old man
Yeah.
when it comes to it at the end of the day. He's been a grumpy old man since like 1980. So you know, you got to take what he says with a grain of salt because he's an interesting person to read. You know, I read a whole a whole book about just him, and it was just a bunch of his interviews throughout time and essays he wrote and column pieces, and he flip-flops constantly. Like he definitely has like a specific belief, but it has changed so much, and you can tell it's like gotten to the point where he's just like a grumpy old man who just like.
I mean, in a way, it's fine because there's plenty of content that he's put out that everyone can enjoy, and in a way, it's sort of like an artist that you like who stops making music or whose new music you don't like.
Does he need to continue? You know,
it's like one of my favorite artists. I don't like their newest album, and I don't like the direction their music is going in. But they have
Who's that?
Portugal the Man. But they have they have what is it, like 11 or 12 years of other
Good music.
other records that I do like, and I'll listen to those however many times I want to, and I still feel fine about it. It's like they have enough music that I can just enjoy it, and then when I'm done with it, I'll move on. But I think it's fine.
Yeah, no, I get that.
With music, it's a little different though, because I think that artists tend to, or fans of artists tend to think that the artist is making music for them, but they're not. Like they shouldn't be. They should be making music for themselves, and if you like it, then that's good for you. But like, ultimately, you don't really have the right to be upset when an artist stops making music you like, because, it's not for you. It's for them.
Yeah. No, I agree with that sentiment because there are a lot of, and there's a lot of artists that have done that. They tried to pander to fans and it kills them.
At Weezer.
Yeah. I know the Grateful Dead struggle with that. They're basically it was more of a different situation. It was more like trying to do everything for the fans to keep them satisfied. It wasn't even music. It was just the concerts and the presents and everything, and it just ended up killing Jerry.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of fatigue that comes with just trying to keep something going.
Yeah,
for so long, and that sort of circles back around to really long anime TV shows that just need to keep topping themselves because it's like they know they have a good thing going, and they just naturally you just want to keep going with it, but there's a lot of fatigue that comes with that.
Yeah, you gotta accept when it's time to stop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Bob Weir.
I mean, sometimes stopping is is an equally powerful statement as coming out with a new bit of content. When you're taking a funny Snapchat video, or a Vine or whatever, the moment that the Vine ends, if that's well placed, that can be just as funny as what actually happens in the video. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's there's a certain element of strategic stoppage that is just as much a creative element as the content itself.
I can't think of many artists that have done that successfully, but I'm sure there are examples.
Yeah, who stopped making music and we're happy about it, even though we like
Michael Jackson.
Well, he didn't really do it of his own volition.
Yeah, well,
David Bowie.
We're happy that he stopped. David Bowie also.
Yeah.
David Bowie's posthumous album, so good.
Yeah, glad he ended on a high note.
Amazing.
Well, it wasn't really a high note. It was pretty fucking depressing, but it's still a good
It's
album.
incredibly depressing.
Still a good album.
It's frenetically anxious and just makes you want to tear your eyeballs out, but it's so good.
Yeah, I can't think of a band that's
Stopped.
I think
we're happy about it.
Does Linkin Park still make music?
Yes.
Okay.
they do, but
Mike
not,
Shinoda makes music.
Yeah, they're not it's not Linkin Park anymore. It's a rap group.
I think it's...
Yeah, Fort Minor. Do they make music?
Oh, I don't even know about
Fort Minor. I don't know if they make...
Well, after Chester Bennington died, that band kind of see, that's the thing. It's after a band
person dies.
member.
Mhm.
Oh, I can think of
Alice in Chains is still making music, even though
Sadly.
Staley's dead.
Weezer sadly still making music, and their new album is terrible.
the Eagles stopped making music, right at their height. The Beatles I'm glad they stopped making music,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, because if they would have kept making music, I'm afraid it would have turned out these shit
Yeah,
eventually.
Radiohead stopped making music,
Did they break up?
Are they done?
but I'm pretty sure they're done.
Okay, that's good.
That's good.
Spencer doesn't like radio.
No.
Well, it's just that
not
their
even
last
that.
their last album is like a really
Good one.
it's a good album, but it's good as a last album. You know, like that it makes sense as a final installment. Moon Shaped Pool. good
Yeah.
album. But yeah.
I think
Tell Me Heart's
breakups are probably the best example.
breakups.
Like
yeah.
the Eagles broke up, the Beatles
Mm.
broke up, but it was a good place to break up. You
Mm.
know, the band broke up. They were
the band.
The band.
Yeah.
But you know, have you been hearing about the 50th anniversary Woodstock thing? What's your
With-
opinion on it?
No.
Why?
No, I haven't
Hard
heard of
no.
Well, okay, so they're doing a 50th anniversary Woodstock concert up in upstate New York, which is where the first Woodstock was.
this. Yep.
Not in the same town, but nearby, I think. And there's going to be a bunch of artists there. Some really popular contemporary artists, some less known contemporary artists, and some like people that are there for nostalgia, like Canned Heat.
Candy.
No.
So what's your? You say no. Why?
Not the same people.
Okay.
Not the same situation.
True.
They tried it in 2000. It was a fucking nightmare.
They did try it.
It was a
before.
nightmare.
I don't know how it went. Okay.
It
a
was
nightmare.
it was an absolute nightmare.
Okay.
But then again, it was all like new metal, and like people were just beating each other up and
Yeah.
shitting themselves. It was really messed up. I'm scared when they announce anniversary shit like that, because you have people out there that hear that and they're like, "Oh, what a great place to shoot up."
Yeah, I'm
know-
sure it will be a breeding ground,
Yeah.
literally. But
No, I'm not talking about like shooting up heroin. I'm talking about like people going to kill people.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe.
You know, like
Yeah.
that's what concerns me. Like when you have something so iconic like that, you know, it's like,
There's gonna be so many people there.
yeah, there's like a lot of
True.
people. There's a lot of chances, you know, and it's a big open ass field. Like,
Could be dangerous. Yeah.
you know, and the I guess the charm of Woodstock was it was an unregulated farm where people literally just sat in the mud and watched people perform on LSD basically, and like lived.
It
as-
is. There is something
it's not gonna
about
be like that.
No,
the
it's not.
the planning and like all that. The planning and organization of it that does sterilize it a little bit.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same. That's my biggest thing. It's like if you're looking for like Woodstock Part 2, you get in a field and you send out a ton of like word of mouth things like we're having a jam and we're going to get all these famous people. That's how you start it.
But politically speaking, I do think that it's the same. Our political climate is ready for Woodstock now in the same way it was ready for Woodstock in the 60s. Like, we're back where we were in the 60s in terms of political divisiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And
Digging
that's
the ripped
people don't really
jeans.
realize that, but like people say we're in like a super dangerous political climate right now, and the country's more divided than it's ever been. But like this is basically how it was in the '60s with counterculture and with evangelicals versus new liberals, and it's like this has happened before. People were just as scared then as they are now.
Yeah. Same groups of people were scared.
Hmm. The lines are slightly different, but not that different.
Yeah.
But now it's just gonna be super commercialized.
Yeah.
It's
That's
it's
true.
just not gonna
They're
be.
going to charge you for water.
Charge you for weed.
water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
LSD.
Weed is still illegal in New York.
Dude, if the Grateful Dead
What's up with
isn't going to be there, which they aren't, I'm not going. What's
You
the
weren't
point?
gonna go anyway.
Are they going to be
You
there?
probably can't afford
I
it.
couldn't afford it.
They are releasing tickets on April.
Dead and Company will be there,
22nd.
though.
But I do like music festivals. I think music festivals are really fun.
I'd personally rather go to something like Govball, because it's more like, which is on Governor's Island in New York, and it's more like, it's within reach, and the artists there are like, there's lots of very popular artists there, but there's also lots of not
Yeah.
well known.
I mean, I went to the best unkept secret in the Netherlands, and that was like there's tons of really big artists like LCD Sound System, Spoon, Arctic Monkeys,
Yeah.
Tyler the Creator, some
pretty
other
sick.
big ones, but there's thousands of really tiny artists.
Right.
Like, I personally went there to see a Philly local band. So
That's ironic.
so there's like a bunch of tiny artists, and then like it was just a really cool like walking around and hearing new music all the time, because there's constantly music playing.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been to one, but I'd like to.
There's only one like festival I've ever been to, and that's in my town. So
Nice.
the Blues Fest, Western
Blues
Maryland
Fest.
Blues Fest.
Shout
and
out.
honestly, I loved it. Like when it was at its peak, it was honestly like the best thing Hagerstown had. It was a really great blues festival, and I love blues. So
And
like,
you're wearing the hat right now.
yeah, like it. Oh shit, you're right. Yeah, it was a.
Blues Fest.
It was like a really big deal. Like I looked forward every summer. Basically, it's like the first week of June, so we get out of high school or get out of college, and I'd be like going down there, and like you'd see people from town that you knew because it was such a big event that everyone
Mhm.
from town was there, and like,
Mhm.
you know, there's like the big tent with all the beer and. You know, all the weirdos from Hagerstown are there smoking
Nice.
cigarettes and watching like some pretty decent blues acts they managed to get.
I love me
so,
some blues.
Yeah.
Good blues.
Blues concerts are insanely fun.
Mhm.
They're like, just like you can't stop tapping your feet. You know what I mean?
It's jamming.
Yeah.
I mean, blues is a very jam,
Genre.
whatever. I don't know what the word is. It can get jammed.
You
Gets
jam.
jammed real quick.
Well, it's based off of jamming, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It is.
That's what jam bands were based off of. Basically, was
What is-
blues and.
Fuck. Can't even think of that word. It's susceptible. That's the one. It's susceptible to big old jams.
Mm-hmm.
I think is what I'm getting at here. Well, hold up. Sorry.
Well.
I love this. Fact. I don't know. I think we can wrap it up there.
Yeah.
I think we
yeah,
have to
we
now
have
that we have the effect on.
Yeah,
On.
this
Yeah.
is how you know we're coming around.
On.
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 So, thank you for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
We will be back next week probably.
Yeah.
And
Eventually.
remember that the SGA walkthrough is on the 4th or the 11th. They haven't decided yet, which is kind of annoying, but keep an eye out for that. It's probably going to be in the Canbar Performance Space. And keep an eye out for Jemiah's new show, which should be dropping any minute now. And keep an eye out for... I don't know, I guess that's it. Anyway. Thank you. And we'll close you out with a POV, auditory POV of getting jerked off.
All right.
Yeah, thank you.